Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Now, what was I talking about? My name is V Noir, and this week I'm talking about the 2025 horror flick, The Monkey. um, Honestly, I didn't realize that it was based on a Stephen King short story. But it should have clued me in when they mentioned Maine because that is where a lot of he's from there. And so, a lot of his stories are based in Maine, like it is based in that, and it is based there, because he grew up there. So he likes to put all of his stories in it, as in Maine. Um, but yeah, again, kind of late on this episode again. I had a really tough time watching the rest of the other movie that I was trying to have in like the pre-recorded aspect of the pod, which is the movie Dream Scenario. And I was only having a hard time, like I paused it close to halfway through the movie because it was just like it was awkward for me because I was like, I do love Nicolas Cage, but I don't think of him in like a sexual sense. So there was like this like sex thing going on with him, and I was like, oh, I don't actually, I'm not mentally prepared for this. So I think if I saw that in theaters, I'd be like cringing in my seat because I'm like, oh God, why is this happening? Um, but I will get back to it. So I made like a list of different movies that I've been meaning to watch, and figuring out where I could watch them as a way to sort of pre-record episodes so that I can then focus on catching up on TV shows and things and having content to put on the Patreon. And more than likely, I'll do it where um, the Patreon gets those like quick episodes where I'm like talking about K dramas that I'm finally watching or any other TV shows that I'm finally watching, like finally watching the final season of The Boys or catching up to Interview with the Vampire because I only watched the first episode of the first season and I haven't watched anything else. And I've been like really jealous about like the third season with, Rockstar Lestat. And I'm like, and I saw that clip of uh what Akasha looks like in the movie, and I'm like, in the show, I mean, and I'm like, uh I'm so jealous. uh I'm like, what is the actor's name? Because I'm like, she's doing phenomenal. And this is the worst thing I clicked on. Oh, let me stop shaking my leg because it's shaking my desk, which means it's shaking my camera slash laptop. She is played by, oh my god, please. Sheila At- Atim. Sheila Atim. Like, she looks like she's doing so good. And the fact that, I love how they made her look too. And I'm like, people were spoiling this for me. And the whole thing with Claudia and everything. I'm like, and I also need to finish reading the actual books. Um, too, because I'm like, I want to understand in the context. Like, actually, that's another reason why I'm trying to pre-record things because there's like there's trilogies that I want to talk about, and spending the time watching all of those and doing research and stuff takes a while. And then there's movies that have book adaptations, and I want to spend time reading the book and watching the movie and doing like a comparison of it. And there's something very particular that I want to do a review of after reading the book, which is Eyes Wide Shut. Um, like I hate the movie. And it's like it's Stanley Kubrick's last film, and like it's visually stunning. Like it's Stanley Kubrick. He has a photography background, as do I, and he went into filmmaking, which is something I'm doing. So it's like it makes sense to me why he would frame things a particular way, and want to shoot things a particular way, because I'm like, yeah, it's like it's like the photography eye, um being translated into a cinematographer. um Actually, I don't know who he worked with closely as a cinematographer, now that I think about it, because I'm like, more than likely he didn't shoot his films too, um because that isn't exactly um the norm in Hollywood. That is not the norm. Everyone has their own role. And so it's not even okay. So Larry Smith is the cinematographer for Eyes Wide Shut. Has he done other stuff with Stanley Kubrick? I mean, he's still alive for one. Yeah, and he's still shooting things. Actually, oh wow, that's kind of crazy, because he was the first thing on his IMDb is Eyes Wide Shut. So that's crazy. And then he did The Piano Player, which is a movie that I've been meaning to watch. I don't think this is the same movie I'm thinking of. This is about an assassin. It's so funny how many things are named the same thing. But anyway, so Eyes Wide Shut, it's just the concept of it all is just so dumb to me, because I'm like, what do you mean this man is crashing out over the fact that his wife had a thought about maybe sleeping with someone separate from him, her husband. And in the very beginning of the movie, we see him openly flirting with women in front of him and in front of her. And it's just like, the fuck? Very misogynistic. And it is, and then so like the history of Stanley Kubrick trying to make this movie and stuff is pretty long too, because the it's based on a book that I want to read, which is, why I'm talking about this, because I'm like, yeah, it's based on a book that I want to read. And what is the book called? It's called Dream Story. Initially first published in 1926. I'm like, damn, it was a long time ago. And yeah, I want to read that, because I'm like, what did Stanley Kubrick see in that story that really like he really wanted to make this movie? Like, what did he see in that? And can I see anything differently by, reading the book and then rewatching the movie? And also I found out that there's a different person made a different film based on the short story as well, and I'm like, I have to watch that. I have to see what this person did differently from Stanley Kubrick. But yeah, it's just like, I like, really? She didn't even actually cheat on you. She just thought about maybe doing it. And they're getting high or whatever, and joking or whatever with each other, and he she says this. And mind you, this is like, it's Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, and I believe they divorced right before shooting this film, so it's like they have to act like a couple. And like, oh yeah, y'all are phenomenal actors. She's got to act like she loves him, even though they got a divorce. Um, right before filming that, so I'm like, that's kind of awkward, but it works. But yeah, I was just like, and I'm like, yeah, he just goes through this whole night where he's just like, oh, I had, he tries to get to the sex club or whatever, and oh my God, and the way that was like the most boring sex scene, like sex anything, I was like, is what this is so boring. I'm like, it looks so sexless, like I've been to, like ink dungeons and shit. I'm like, nothing about that was like erotic or sensual. I was just like, I hate this. No, I'm gonna I'm gonna save that for when I actually rewatch the film because I'm like, it's long as hell too. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, what are we doing? And oh, let me before I move on, because I'm like, where dream story? Um, just looking at, because I'm like, maybe this is more thought provoking in the 1920s, I guess, but it's just, I swear there was another, I don't know why. Oh, let me go to adaptations. Okay, there's like a 1969 Austrian television film adaptation. Oh, there's an Italian one too. And there's two Italian ones actually. So 1969, 1983, 1989, and then Stanley Kubrick's at 1999 for movies. And then somebody made a graphic novel. I don't know if I would go that far to read a graphic novel, but that might be interesting, I guess. And then, yeah, I don't I'm like it's so. Oh, but yeah, so like I want to do stuff like that. I want to talk about trilogies. Like I wanted to finally watch Old Boy, like the original movie, not the God, I'm so bad at remembering names. Spike Lee. There we go. I believe it was Spike Lee who did a adaptation of that. That wasn't good. Yep, it was Spike Lee. But yeah, the original Old Boy, that is a part of a trilogy. It's called like a Vengeance trilogy. They are only related thematically, not actually like I believe they're like in the same universe, but they're not actually um related in any way between like the characters and stuff. And so Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, and what was the other one? Production. It was like Justice for Mr. Vengeance or something. Box office. I'm like, I didn't intend to talk about this, and that's why I'm like, what are these things? Oh, media. Oh, it was like a Bollywood. Oh, it wasn't technically a remake, but they're like, so what the fuck is this? Oh, maybe if I go to the director. Oh, he looks like a nice guy. Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, so I was right. It's the Vengeance trilogy. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is the first movie. Old Boy is the second movie, and Lady Vengeance is the third movie. I watched Lady Vengeance. I want to say I've seen Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. I just haven't seen Old Boy, and I wanted to talk about them all and how they relate thematically and stuff. Of course, Old Boy is like probably the most well known and popular one out of the context of any of this. But I really liked Lady Vengeance. I watched that on Shudder. There you go. It was really good. That one was about a woman who was imprisoned for something she didn't do. They thought she was like a child serial killer, but that killer is still at large. And then she finally gets released from prison, and then she goes after the guy. And that was really satisfying. I'm like, I always love when women are seeking vengeance and like going against bad guys and stuff. Always a good time rather than, seeing women be victimized and ladies in distress or whatever. I'm like, let's at least like, can we have a fantasy at the very least of women, you know, doing good and like not doing good, but like kicking ass, and like killing their rapist or, someone who assaulted them or something. It's like we come to film and any sort of media that we consume for escapism, right? And entertainment, of course, and art, of course, and like let's not forget that. But anyway, so the monkey. Into the synopsis, when twin brothers Bill and Hal find their father's old monkey toy in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths start. The siblings decide to throw the toy away and move on with their lives, growing apart over the years. And actually, what's crazy about the twins is that at least the young twins, because I was like, yeah, that's Theo James twice. Although I wasn't sure because he does a different voice for Bill, or like his voice is like slightly different. But for the young versions of himself, I was like, wait, they're supposed to be identical when it goes to adult him, them. But I really could not tell that it was Christian Convery uh twice because the boys' personalities are so very different and the way he behaves as them is so very different. It's like they do feel like two distinctly different people. And what's good about that too is because we follow the young boy's like story for like a good chunk of the movie, and his performances of the two of them really help you understand what kind of people Hal and Bill are. And I really was like, yeah, that must be two different little boys, right? And it's like, no, it's Christian Convery. And I'm like, oh, okay, that boy is talented. So he was young Victor Frankenstein in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and I was like, oh fuck, so he's just fucking good at acting, and he was in the show Sweet Tooth, on Netflix, which I haven't watched unfortunately, but I do remember hearing it was really good and really popular, and he was the main character in that. And one of his earliest roles is like as a ghost in Supernatural, as like a fun fact. And it's like, oh, that's weird and interesting. What kind of, well, it's not weird, but it's just interesting. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And Theo James, he's our main character, and he is older, Hal and Bill. And he was someone that I was like, I feel like I know who he is, but I'm like, I felt like I knew him from more than just a Divergent movie series or whatever thing I hadn't watched. And I'm like, there's no reason I should just know who he is. Even if he is attractive, I'm like, I must have seen him in something. And it was the Underworld movies. I was like, "Oh, okay," because 'cause I'm like, I definitely watched those. I'm like, I knew you from something, but I really just couldn't place it. And looking at his IMDb, I was like, "Oh, wow." I didn't realize, like, for one, he's British. But I'm like the things that I watched him in, he doesn't have. I think he's British. I'm like I just said that and I was second guessing myself, but no, he does like a good American accent. And he was in Mr. Malcolm's List, which is a movie that I do love. I'm like that had such a diverse casting. You know, black and brown people in sort of a Jane Austen esque um era film, and he was one of the secondary characters, and I was like, okay, I didn't recognize him because he had a mustache and like just facial hair, and his overall character wasn't serious, and I feel like he always plays these kind of serious roles, or I've seen him in stuff where he's very serious, and he's very comedic in that movie, and I'm like, oh, I need to rewatch that movie because it's great, and it has a happy ending. Everyone kind of ends up with someone, and I mean, even his character does too, I believe. Or there's someone who ends up being like asexual coded or whatever, and he's just happy that everyone's happy. And I can't remember if that was him or a different character. Which is why I should just rewatch it. But yeah, so when you come into this movie, it starts off with their dad, who you later find out is their dad, played by Adam Scott. You know him from Severance, from Parks and Rec, of course. I kind of forgot that he was in Madam Web as Ben Parker. It's just like, oh, why are you here? But also, they need to make a second movie. Like, come on. Where's the Madam Web 2? We have to see the girls be super powered or whatever. We need this Spider-Man sequel to happen. We need it to happen. But yeah, we see their dad trying to return the monkey. That will be, the main thing of the whole, like the thing driving the plot. And at first I was like, oh, that monkey's kind of ugly. Why would you get that? And when it closes its mouth, I was like, "Oh, actually, it is kind of cute. I get why you would have bought this." But when it opens its mouth, it's like, "Oh, this is a little scary because of the teeth." And the guy is just like, "We don't do refunds." And then the monkey does like a singular hit of the drums, and a harpoon lands into the seller's like body. And then he does another hit of his drum, and the harpoon is ripped out of his body, and his whole intestines come out with it. And I was startled a bit because I was like, oh, that was way more visceral than I expected. I don't know why. It's like, even though I've watched two horror movies and talked about them recently, that was still shocking to me. I was just like, oh my god, I haven't watched a horror movie like this in a long time. Where it's just so like, we're gonna go crazy with how people are gonna die. And that's what you get in this movie. It gets really ridiculous. Like somebody ends up having like hornets um blown into their mouth. Oh, also I guess trigger warning, content warning. It's a horror movie. It gets really graphic. But like I was saying, hornets fly into his mouth, and then they kind of fly out of his skin, and it's just like this it's a mix of like special effects makeup and CGI, but it's still really creepy, because his face is trigger warning for like that fear of holes thing, but his face gets really holy. It's really it's really awful. It's pretty awful, yeah. Osgood Perkins. He is the director of this movie. He did Long Legs, with Nicolas Cage, and um, he does a cameo in this as the boys' uncles, which is kind of fun. which was sadly short-lived. Oh, I didn't write down that priest's name, but because I did little notes, my little notes. Oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa. I'm trying to find something. There we go. So many producers on this. But yeah, so we see these intestines get ripped out, and then it's just like, okay, so now this clerk doesn't exist. He is dead. You can't do a refund. And their dad looks over and sees a flame torch. He uses it on the monkey, and we switch off to the boys and their mom. And of course, Bill. Bill is like an asshole. He's just a little twerpy asshole. He bullies his brother Hal a lot. He, makes fun of Hal. He tells Hal that he's the reason their dad isn't coming back and all this stuff. Like, he's pretty awful. But they have a good relationship with their mom, whose name is Lois, played by Tatiana Maslany, who I wrote down was in Orphan Black. She was also in Parks and Rec, but only like 2 episodes. And she does voice acting. Uh, she did like something in BoJack Horseman briefly. Honestly, with horror, honestly, it's just really nice seeing a lot of like not as big named people in movies. It's like, wow, like let's give other people a chance. That's crazy. Because like a lot of the people in this have done mostly television and, or haven't been there's some people that haven't acted as long. It's more the smaller roles and then, they have kind of gone over to movies, which is really cool. But yes, I am trying to remember. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, so basically, their dad is gone. They don't know where he is, and we don't see the monkey yet. Yet. And so the boys are sort of just like, what am I saying? um, I just like started staring into space, not even like paying attention. But but yeah, the boys are just like rifling through their dad's stuff because he was a captain. Oh yeah, let me tell you his name in this. Captain Petey Shelbourne. So he would go all over the world and, send the family different things he would find. And all of a sudden, the boys discover the monkey. And it's like, oh, haha, what is this? And they turn the little knob on its back. It does nothing. It's like, shit. Well, we already kind of know. We're a little teed up for knowing that when it starts drumming, that something's going to happen. So nothing happened. And God, like, Bill was really just like an asshole. Like he was like, "Oh, you love this monkey. Say you want to do something with the monkey or something." I don't know. It was just like it was I was just like, "Oh, I hate this little boy." But I wasn't seeing that boy in Hal, so I was just like not even conflating the fact that this is an actor acting against himself, I was just like, I hate this little boy. He's a piece of he's a awful and like he's gonna grow up to be awful. That sucks. And like you gotta nip that shit in the bud. But also he was probably like, well, it's harder to do at that point. But like you gotta be more engaged in your children's lives, you guys. But oh yeah, so Hal is a little bit more attached to the monkey, or he's just like kind of curious about it, but not really. And Bill, says something dumb and forces him to admit that he wants. Oh, that's what it was. He was like, "Say you want this monkey's banana or whatever, or you want to eat this monkey's banana or something." Something stupid like that. And Hal does it, and Bill hands over the monkey, and then they go with their like babysitter because sh I don't know what their mom was doing actually, but she needed a night off, and they went off to this spot with their babysitter. I'm like, what was her name again? Babysitter Annie, played by Danica Dreyer. She's one of the people that I was thinking of when I was saying like these are mostly like people who mostly work on television, haven't done movies that much because she's been acting on TV at least since 2019, but I didn't see anything that I was recognized as like something, like really popular or anything like that, which I'm like, oh, that's cool. But it's like Bill has feelings for his babysitter, and it's like, yeah, of course you do, Bill. And they go off to this restaurant, and the cook is like sort of flirting with her. It's a hibachi place, and I'm like, damn, I've never gone to one of those, but it seems cool. I'm like, that seems kind of cool to see like a person cook your food in front of you and then serve it to you. I'm like, that's pretty sick. And yeah, the like chef is flirting with her, making the rice. Mm, he formed the rice into a heart, and then he put the little like spatula under it and made it look like it was like pumping. And I was like, oh, that's cute. That I love this. And I'm like, but this moment's gonna get ruined, isn't it? It's gonna get ruined. And of course it does, because the monkey had followed them. Hal didn't take it, but it was in the car, in the back seat with Hal for some reason, and it brought its arm up and down. And as the chef was going to, I guess, flip something off of the burner, the stove, the cooking plate. I'm like, what is that surface called? I don't know. I do know, but words are escaping me. I'm like, anyway, as he raised his arm to flip something, he ended up decapitating the babysitter. I'm like, okay, so that's just gonna change the trajectory of everyone's lives in this restaurant, and specifically those boys, because that's crazy. And so, actually, I want to say that's the only death that really happens, but Hal kind of figures out that it was because of the monkey, because nothing else really made sense. And he wanted to believe that the monkey could kill Bill, his brother, because, he hated the guy. And because of him, he was getting bullied at school too. Like, this is I kind of love the sort of juxtaposition, but it was like a group of girls that were bullying him that I'm assuming Bill got them to bully him, and he got like pummeled with like bananas and stuff because that monkey ended up being in his bag or whatever. And so Hal had begged the monkey to kill his brother, and he wound it. The monkey raised its arm, raised it down. Bill was coming back home, and he tries to say something to his mom, and then his mom turns around and there's like just blood coming out of her face, and she dies in front of Bill. And after that, they have a funeral and everything. But I did want to mention, because this is like randomly funny. There was like a priest who was like making jokes, and he was played by, they called him Rookie Priest in the credits, but he was played by Nico Del Rio, and he was in Black Mirror playing Goth Dude, which is really funny. But is there other stuff? Honestly, he's mostly done television. Another one. He's mostly done TV. A few episodes here and there of different shows, but nothing like really prevalent. Like he hasn't landed like a recurring role in something. But I'm like, this man was funny, and he didn't need to be this funny, but he was just being really silly. And but yeah, so because he was the priest for the babysitter's funeral and now the mom's funeral, and so after this, Bill tries to no, not Bill, Hal tries to he tries to do something. Oh, he cuts up the monkey. The monkey's like weird and bloody, and I'm like, oh, so it's definitely alive. And he cuts it up. He into different pieces, puts it in different uh trash bags, and throws it away. He assumes it's gone. His aunt, their aunt and uncle from Maine. This is when Maine comes in. I'm like, it's an interesting place to move to. Where were they initially? We never know that. They come in and, take them into their house. It was kind of funny because the uncle, this is the cameo for Osgood Perkins. The uncle is just like, yeah, we're swingers, but I hope. Oh, actually, no, it was just like it was a whole dialogue where he's talking to Hal about how they never wanted children, they're swingers and all this stuff. We're gonna do our best to raise y'all, but don't expect much from us, basically, which is kind of funny. I was just like, well, at least he's being honest, and they're like tweens, so the rearing, like, this is you need to steer them in the correct, correct direction, but you're not like teaching them everything from scratch like you would with a baby or toddler. Although, I mean, again, Bill is awful. But so then the monkey shows up again, and it's just like, haha, what's going on there? Why are you here? You got, you know, you got chopped up. Kind of crazy. Yeah, no, this is. So then Bill winds it, and then their uncle dies, and I was like, okay, so I was really just like, I don't know how long Osgood Perkins is going to do this cameo, and then he gives himself like the most, like, kind of the craziest death a bit, because he dies by stampede. And let me see, let me go to my notes. I don't know why I didn't have my notes out before, but let me bring out my notes, because the way, like, this is crazy. Oh yeah, the movie starts off in 99, I believe. But he was trampled by 500 animals and looked like soup. That's what the coroner said. And it was just like a freak death because he was out camping or something. And then we see we do see the death. We don't see him, become soup. We see the soup after, but he's in like a. I'm like, this is crazy to describe. Actually, I'm looking at myself describe it because I'm doing a recording of this for the Patreon. But like, it's like so he's in a sleeping bag. He's fully covered, and then we see the hooves just like going over him. And then when they're doing like the autopsy and stuff, they unzip the sleeping bag and it's just like it looks like tomato soup or something. Like it doesn't you don't see a person in this. Like it's crazy. And so now they're left with their aunts. And so both the boys come to the conclusion that that monkey is not to be fucked with, and they decide to go to a well and toss the monkey down there, just to hope that they won't get plagued by the monkey. And then it does a time jump 25 years into the future, and we see how working some customer service job, we don't really know what that job is. Now that I think about it. Oh yeah, I was like, the makeup on the aunt is poorly done. Oh, I didn't say what the aunt, who she is played by. Her name is Aunt Ida, and she's played by Sarah Levy, who was in Schitt's Creek and a lot of other television, which is really cool. Also, the uncle's name was Uncle Chip. I'm like, oh, I kind of love that. But yeah, so we jump forward in time. I didn't really like the makeup on her to age her up, but then we see her die in a freak accident because she hears like circus music. She goes down to the basement. She falls through the stairs. The monkey's down there, by the way. She falls through the stairs. All of these fish hooks end up on her face, and I'm like, I didn't even write this down. I'm just like going off memory. She comes back upstairs. She takes all the. I was like, is she gonna die like that? She doesn't. She comes upstairs. She takes all the fish hooks out of her face, and then she puts rubbing alcohol on it. And I'm like, if you can tell where I'm going with this from the rubbing alcohol, you are almost correct. And she, yeah. So she's like, that was crazy. She's all patched up. Did the rubbing alcohol. She had like the fish hooks all over her face too. She goes into the kitchen and her face is inflamed. She runs out of the house. She her one of her legs ends up stuck in something and then she trips and then is rams her whole self into like a sign postage and it goes through her head. Like that is crazy. And like I said, I feel like this movie was like, let's just do the craziest deaths possible. This felt like A Thousand Ways to Die. I like Loki missed that show, but I'm like Loki high key? No. But so the monkey's back. We That's when we switch to Hal and we see he has customer service job. He gets a call from a woman and turns out it's his ex and she's talking about how he needs to come and visit Petey, his son, and like all named after his dad. And apparently he only visits Petey once a year, so that time is coming up. I don't remember what the dream sequence is about. What is Lady Exploder? Now I'm looking at my notes and like, what's going on? But it's like as I watched the whole movie and I'm like, the deaths get pretty crazy. They get pretty crazy. I feel like I would have said Oh, okay. I don't know. But yeah, so he gets a call from Bill as well. He's like, "Oh, I haven't talked to you in like 10 years or something like that." I'm like, "Of course, y'all haven't talked. He's probably now like an older asshole." And Bill tells Hal about their aunt dying in a freak way. And he's like, "I think that monkey's back, trying to kill our family." And he tells, oh, haha, because I'm like reading the Wikipedia just to see if I missed anything. And I just don't know I guess I do know what it is, but we'll come back. So before that, the call between the two brothers, it's like, wow, it's been so long. Before that, Hal visits the house of his ex. Did I write down her name? I know I wrote down Elijah Wood because, oh yeah, Elijah Wood, who is Ted. He has all these books on like great parenting and being a great father and all this stuff, and they're obviously rich. And he's the new partner to his ex, who is played by Laura Manel. I did not write down anything for her. Whoopsie daisy. Um, oh, she's really pretty. Her IMDb photo is really gorgeous. Oh, she's in Watchmen. That's cool. Oh, she's in Man in the High Castle. Okay, okay. Nice. And I mean, yeah, it's Elijah Wood. I'm like, Lord of the Rings, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, it's Elijah Wood. And they were both briefly in the movie. So I'm like, okay, these were kind of like cameo, like really quick, uh, like higher paid people that showed up in this movie. And so basically they try to discuss with how they want to formally adopt Petey because Petey keeps having these whole sort of like Petey's hopeful to have a stronger relationship with his biological dad, and they don't like that he's being confused and everything, and they don't like that he has an attachment to Hal, even though Hal isn't doing a good job of communicating to Petey or anything like that or trying to be there for him. And they're just like, I mean, I think it fucking sucks though because like he's at least showing up once a year, but he's showing up, but they want to take that away from him as well. And I'm like, at least let him have the one day. And they were saying all this as though Petey was like a toddler or something. And I'm like, no, that boy is like 15. Let him decide whatever the fuck he wants to do. Like let him be curious about his biological dad. And like it's I didn't like what they were trying to do because it's like he can have two dads. And I'm like, Elijah Wood was kind of playing like a douchey. His name is Ted in this. I'm like, yeah, of course his name is Ted. Not to offend any Teds out there, but it was just like, this is awful. An awful situation because I'm like, okay, so you don't like that he wants his biological dad in his life and wants to know more about his biological dad? Are you jealous? He lives with you. He only sees his biological dad once a year. Like, fuck you. Anyway, so while he's picking up Petey and they're going off, they're gonna go to like a Halloween thing or something for his birthday. I did not write that down. And it's not on the wiki. They're gonna go do something for his birthday for like a week. And then it was gonna turn into the last week he's gonna spend with his son, basically. Like right as they were trying to do that, Hal gets contacted by Bill. That's when this conversation happens. And Bill insists on Hal going to Aunt Ida's house and everything. And it's like, wait, why do I have to do it? Why can't you do it? And he's just like, because I said so. And it's like, huh? This is weird. And of course, as he is making his way up to Aunt Ida's house, deaths start happening. And it's like, oh no, why are people dying crazy? And by the time he makes it to the house, oh, we do see a man buy it off of a estate sale. So we do see somebody get the monkey, and we have to assume that he's like twisting the crank and everything like that, and that's why all these bizarre deaths are happening. But it's like it's so crazy because by the time Hal and Petey show up to the house and everything like that to look over the house, because Petey is just like he was trying to do a family tree, and he's like, I don't know anything about my biological dad. And so he wanted to experience at least the house he grew up in to have some level of understanding of his dad. And they he goes in the house. Oh my god, because he was doing the family tree assignment, and Hal was like, no, I don't have any siblings. A bold-faced lie in his face. And they literally go into the house, and he's like, there's two of him because there's still photos of the fucking family around. So now he's like upset. Or actually, no, not even the photo. The real estate agent, Barbara, mentions his brother. And then he's like, what? Oh, there we go. He was like, you have a brother? Wow, this is my first time learning about this. Can't believe I learned it from you. And then he goes into the house and he says, they're identical. That's what he says. He's like, they're identical. And, of course, he's fucking pissed. And so they're in the house. We see the monkey. There's like some fun transitions in here. We see a scene of somebody turning the monkey thing, the thing on his back, whatever the fuck it's called. um, and there is a closet door that opens, and it's Barbara and Hal at the closet door. And you kind of see this in the trailer too. And a shotgun falls down, and Barbara basically explodes. Yeah, so she explodes from this. And later on, the cops show up, and they're like, "So did you know there was weapons in the house?" And he's like, "I did not know." And they're like, "This is weird, which situation, but don't leave town." And then outside, there's like all these people. There's like cheerleaders and everything. Like it feels like the town is kind of like it's kind of a little culty. Everybody's just like excited, I guess, about how like these weird deaths are happening or something like that. It's like kind of weird and creepy. And so at some point, it just keeps accumulating. All these people die and stuff. And then it switches over to Bill's point of view. And it's like, oh, okay, so he's a little off his rocker. Cool. As it happens, and he realizes that Hal was the one that turned the key and was the reason that their mom died. So now he has a um, sort of a hyperfixation on a monkey. After they threw the monkey down the well, he climbed down the well, but the monkey was gone. Had to take a water break. And so he has a ad in the phone book. I'm like, remember phone books? Um, called Mrs. Monkey, where he put out an ad because he's trying to find his monkey and he's gonna reward people. And so it's almost like he has this like kind of weird like he worships the monkey in a way. He's like, oh yes, bring death to my enemies, which is his brother basically. And the guy who bought the monkey is actually kind of working for him in a way. And oh yeah, I said he has anime bangs. Can he see? Because his hair was just like this, like all over his eyes, and I'm like, why are you talking right now? Like, how are you looking? You have a gun? Like, what are we doing? But yeah, that was yeah, I'm gonna get there, but this was kind of because the movie's about to wrap up too, actually, because I was like, where is this going? All these people are dying. Neither Hal or Petey is dying, but I was just like, I just don't want the boy to die. Like anybody else, but Petey doesn't deserve this. Obviously, I mean, it's surprising that Hal even had a family and like a child and everything like that, but obviously he wanted to stay away because he wanted to keep his son safe. And maybe their dad did something similar too, but the monkey still vanished. And so he basically, I called him the minion, but his name is like Thrasher slash Ricky, I guess. He's played by Rohan Campbell, who was like the lead in the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I was like, holy shit, that's cool. We're so back. And he was in the Hardy Boys TV show, and he's also in like a Sabrina Carpenter music video called Taste, where he plays like a boyfriend in that. And he's done like a lot of television. But yeah, so he wants the monkey back because the monkey reminds him of his dad for some reason. And I was like, that's weird but interesting. And so he finds out where Hal is, dresses up as a cop, threatens Hal, and oh, okay. I was trying to remember. Basically, Bill wants Hal to bring Petey to him to turn the knob on the monkey because he wants Petey to possess it. He realizes that whoever turns the knob doesn't automatically die. Like they're free of the wrath of the monkey, basically. And so he's hoping that if Petey turns it and Hal is there, that Hal will die. Because he wants revenge for Hal killing his mom, right? And so that's happening on one front, and he's like, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. What? That's happening on one front, and then Thrasher finds Hal, takes both of them gunpoint, Hal and Petey, takes them to the warehouse, and he's saying all these things, and Hal is like, I literally don't know anything about my brother, and he's like, how do you not know that's your brother? And it's like, they are estranged. I'm like, you know how that man is. Why do you think his brother would know anything about that? Or, be on the same level? Like, the man had decided as a child to continue to wear his funeral outfit because he thought that by doing that, he would prevent funerals to happen. And then he re-sewed it to his adult body, which is weird. And he has all these cameras set up in this warehouse, and the warehouse is like like booby trapped. There we go. Like kind of Home Alone, but violent booby trapped. And he, so they show up. Hal, Petey, Thrasher. They show up in a car. Uh, Thrasher tells Petey to sneak in and get the monkey. Essentially, Petey goes do that because he's got a gun. Might as well. While Petey is sneaking in and not dying from all the booby traps because there's like swords coming out and like axes being thrown, like all kinds of crazy stuff. He makes it over, almost gets the monkey, and then the Bill stops him basically, and he's like, "Wow, you look like my dad." No, but they do stop or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, here's the monkey." And while that's happening, Thrasher and oh my god. There we go. I was like, why did this happen? No, it's because of the monkey. The monkey causes this death to happen. But yeah, so Bill is like, here's the monkey. Oh my god, I just remembered that Hal. No. Not even Hal. Thrasher explains the whole monkey shit to Peter. And Peter's like, that's why you haven't been in my life because of a fucking monkey? He doesn't curse, I don't think. And then so he finally sees a monkey. Bill's like, yeah, no, that's crazy talk. Like, just turn the knob. And then he does, and then the monkey does his thing, and outside they notice that hornet's nest. Thrasher shoots randomly. It shoots the hornet's nest. It shoots through the car, like front window into the hornet's nest. And then the monkey does another arm down, and the hornets come out of that nest and through that hole in the car window into that man's mouth. And I was like, oh, that's fucked up. And after that, Hal gets out of the car, of course, because that's crazy. He takes the gun. He tries to sneak in through the doggy door, but Petey shows up, and I believe just opens the door. And the brothers finally confront each other, and of course, Bill is just like, yada yada, you killed my mom. And Hal's like, that was my mom too? And Bill's like, you're right. That was your mom. And then they sort of make up and everything like that. But the monkey's arm is still raised, so actually, I skipped over this, but before they make up, they are fighting over the monkey, and the monkey kind of goes a little crazy, and it starts drumming so much. It starts drumming so much. So many people die. So many people die. Oh my god, that's what it was. So, yeah, Bill gets mad seeing his brother. He tries to force the monkey to put its fist down, put its arm down. The monk without twisting it. He's like, kill him, please. And then the monkey just keeps drumming. Planes are falling out of the sky. People are falling into the ceiling dead. And that was kind of a payoff. I mean, this is a crazy payoff, but they advertised like a parachuting deal there where like even wedding parties could do like a parachuting thing. And we see the dead body of a bride and groom fall through the ceiling. But then yeah, they do make up because, Bill remembers that that was his mom, that was Hal's mom too, and it's like, yeah, yeah. But that monkey, his arm was still up. and it comes down. And then Bills dies. He gets a bowling ball to the face and his head flattens. We see that. That was crazy. And then they leave. Petey and Hal leave. It was kind of, this was when the boys are fighting and everything and arguing with each other. We just see them. We never see Petey until like the very end. This is like, okay, that's changing the trajectory of that little boy's life too. That boy's life is not that little, but they leave that warehouse with the monkey, and Hal's just like, we're just gonna have to keep it safe. Like, we can't allow this to happen. Petey's just like, so he just killed the whole town. He just killed the whole town. And there's these like fires everywhere. A mom pushing a stroller with the inside of the stroller on fire. Cars ran into like trees and stuff. They get to a stoplight. There is a man on a white horse, and it's like, oh, okay, that's the, one of the four horsemen, literally death coming in. And that's the end of the movie. It just ends with like them being like, haha, that's crazy. There's just this monkey, and we're gonna have to just live with it. Crazy. um, yeah, no, it was a lot. And it was only like an hour, 30 minutes. I'm like, more movies should just be based on short stories rather than trying to make, oh my God, rather than trying to make a full book, then turn a full book series into movies. It's like, no, there's some great like short novellas. Like this was a novella that you could just base it on. A lot of film noir movies were based on short stories as well. And I'm like, there's a lot of great movies from there. I do need to talk about film noirs because that is where my namesake comes from for my podcast stuff, like the V noir. Like it's because of film noir and how I love that genre of film. But anyway, that will be all for this week. You can find me on Instagram at V_new_R_. You can check out the podcast archive at www.nwwitapod.com and support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/VNoirs Film Club. Like I was saying earlier, I plan on doing, you know, just talking about shows that I'm watching, trying to keep up on. More than likely, it'll be like Patreon gets it a week before, and then I'll post it on YouTube, but I don't know. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.